All right, hi everybody, and I'm live again. I haven't been doing these live streams for a long time, and Olympus has just launched, or it was the August 4th, they launched some new gear, and I asked Robin Wong to join me on this, and let's bring him in. Now, all right, Robin, you're live with me
Hey
from,
everyone!
and
Hi Peter!
you're in Malaysia, Kuala Lumpur, right?
Yes, I am. And it's just sunset. The sun is gone.
Oh,
Just in
okay, yeah.
time.
Well, we still have some sunshine in the back. I've got the curtains on. Well, there is some light.
Nice.
You can see some daylight here.
Oh, nice. Very,
Yeah,
very nice. Yeah,
some
lighting is
daylight.
everything.
And
Right?
so, how have you been? Lockdown is over, and you can move around again.
Lockdown is not really over. Currently, we are on the recovery phase. So there's still a lot of restrictions. We have to wear a mask when we go out. And events and a lot of things are still very restricted. There's only a certain number of people that's allowed in a place, and very strict social distancing is required. Like everyone must be about 1.5 meters apart. I just attended an event yesterday. It was a Samsung's product launch, so it was very interesting to see how everything is handled. So it's not the lockdown is not completely over, but things are getting better. I'm very happy just to be able to get the camera, go out and shoot. That's all I need, right?
Oh yeah, that's really great. And well, we have about the same situation about the restrictions. You know, wearing masks. And you don't have to do it in public places, but in places where you don't can keep the social distance, like the what do you call the public transportation and places like
Ah,
and that, but not on the streets really, because we have this saying in Finland that when we got the 2 meter restrictions, we are eagerly
mm,
waiting when we can go back to 5 meters,
oh,
because Finns, they don't. Let's say the
mm,
kind of like a cliche is that we don't like crowds. So
it's true, true, true.
so we're
I'm
kind
not
of
a crowd person either.
no.
I'm not a people
So
person.
so we're eagerly waiting when we can go back to 5 meters. But it's actually schools started here in Finland, so the a number of
Oh,
infections has gone up a bit now. So and they are most come from because people are or did travel during the summer, which was kind of like
yeah,
stupid in my opinion, and that has of course caused, because most of them have
true,
come
very true.
from abroad. But where is everybody? Because it's morning in the States, afternoon here in Europe, and Kuala Lumpur, that's early evening,
Evening. It is
and then
evening now.
it's late evening in Australia. So I think this is a perfect time. So all the subscribers have actually a possibility to join. So I hope we get lots and lots of people joining today, talking
Yep.
about. But where are you guys from? I haven't really been watching. Somebody's from Crete, Ohio, USA. We got South
It's,
Carolina, USA.
it's from everywhere. There's people from Southeast Asia as well. Malaysians, Singaporeans,
Great, that's
people from
cool.
Thailand. Yeah.
Norway, Scotland, UK. That's good. Yeah, usually UK, Germany.
People are coming. People are coming. Give them
Yeah,
time.
that's great. That's great. But so there's been a lot of news during summer about Olympus, and we've
Mm,
been, making videos about the selling part. And then there was the new gear,
yes.
and I think we can skip the selling part. It's been talked so much, but of course, if people have questions, we don't know anything other than we have said in our videos. So
Mm,
I don't think we can give any information. And in a month's time, we know more when they promise to say something about the whole thing in September. So sorry, we can't answer any of those questions. So that's why we are actually concentrating on the new camera, the EM10 Mark IV, and then also the M.Zuiko 100 to 400 millimeter. And I'm not going to say the f5.0-6. Oh, you have it there. I don't actually
yes.
have I don't have that lens, but actually, can you show it again? Because there was
Sure.
the picture of the lens right there. Okay, you have it there. I do have
Oh, I don't have the camera.
I
I
have the
returned the
camera, but I don't
camera.
have the lens. You know, the lens is so
Perfect.
the lens
You have the
is
camera, I have the lens. Perfect.
that's totally perfect, because the lens is so popular here in Finland that I can only, you know, a day at a time when I can get it. So when I made the video, I didn't have the lens because I got it in I think it was in the beginning of July when I had it for 2 days, and I wasn't really
I
had the time to
see.
make the video right then, and then I had to do it without. But you know, doesn't really matter actually. I had a lot
I
of
actually
pictures about it.
returned the lens, and then Olympus asked me, Olympus Malaysia, they asked me to do certain things. They want certain shots for the social media, so I got the lens again for a few
Cool,
days
cool.
until the end of this week to take some more shots, and then I have to return the lens. So
Yeah. Now that we did talk about the lens here a bit more, and you have it there, so how did you feel about the lens? It's been a long-waited lens, because I know that Panasonic Leica has had it for 3 to 4 years, and it's been quite popular among Olympus users. So this was a good thing
yep.
that it's finally here. So how did you feel about the lens?
Yeah, before I start talking about the 100 to 400, just let me quickly remind everyone that myself and Peter, we already have our videos on this lens. So if you haven't watched those videos, please check them out. Right? I will try my best to share something that I may have missed out, or maybe elaborate certain points a bit more here in the live stream. You know how we do videos, right, Peter? We don't want to do a 20 minutes, 30 minutes video. Nobody's going to watch that. So we try very hard to do a short video where everyone don't have to waste too much time. So when we try to make a short video, sometimes we do miss out certain things. So back to this lens, the 100 to 400, I feel that the first time I met Olympus, right, during the meeting, that was like a month or more ago, and they told me they were very careful. They were actually very afraid when they meet me. And before they even show me the lens, they told me, Robin, this is not a pro lens, okay? This is not a pro lens. So please manage your expectations. So I was very scared. In my mind, like, oh my goodness, is this lens really that bad that they have to warn me like so early, right? So I was also very, a little bit skeptical in the beginning. And then when I held this lens, when they showed me the lens, when I hold it in the first time, I thought, wow, this is interesting, because immediately in my mind, when I look at it, it looks like a pro lens. You just look at it, you don't touch it, it looks like a pro lens. But once you hold it, you realize that it's not a pro lens, because it's part plastic and part metal. It's not a bad thing, right? Some of the parts are plastic to make it lighter, and some of the parts are reinforced with metal to make it really, really solid. So there is no other lens like this lens now from Olympus. It's like, if you compare with a non-pro lens, this is way better. But this is not, in terms of build quality, it's not as good as the Pro lens. So it's very, very interesting. And in my video, I actually poured water on this lens. Fun fact, I didn't ask permission from Olympus to do that. I
Well,
just
that's
poured
the only
water
way
on
to
it.
do it.
Well, if something happens, I'll just tell them, oh, sorry.
Yeah.
I don't think they'll do anything to it. Well, nothing happened. So the lens survived. I poured it everywhere, if you look at the video. So weather sealing, build quality, it is very similar to a Pro lens, which is really, really amazing. Now, I don't want to talk so much. I want Peter to share his opinion as well on the lens. Peter, what do you
Well,
think?
you're my guest. You can talk as much as you want. I'll interrupt you then if I disagree. But yeah, I had actually the same feelings, and I think it could be pro. It could be a pro lens, like it is. The only thing was that probably why it's not that it is lacking the MF clutch, and then the IS or the IBIS and the lens IS works a bit differently. And there's been a bit of a debate: is it Sync IS or not? And I think it's kind of like a partial Sync IS. Not right after now that they have new firmware for certain cameras so that the IS works better. So part of it is still from the lens. It's actually, I think it was the rotation part that comes from the body, and everything else is on the lens. So it is kind of Sync IS, and I think that's something that Olympus marketing made a bit of not a mistake, but they kind of like underestimated it a bit. And then they say
I feel that I understand what Olympus is doing. It is 3 steps EV as claimed. But I feel that, I understand what Olympus is doing. It is 3 steps EV as claimed. But I feel that, I understand what Olympus is doing. It is 3 steps EV as claimed. But I feel that, I understand what Olympus is doing. It is 3 steps EV as claimed. And knowing Olympus, they are very conservative. And they have claimed like 4 EV steps, 5 EV steps. But every time I've tested the camera, I can push way beyond whatever that is claimed by Olympus. I'm sure yourself and other photographers, they can also push by a lot more than what Olympus has claimed. And I personally think this is more closer to 4 EV steps, and that is really impressive considering that this is a very long lens. And also bear in mind that Olympus needs to differentiate this lens from the coming 150 to 400. That is a pro lens, and the pro lens will have the same IS. We don't know how many stops yet, but this is not a pro lens. And this is the first time, bear in mind, this is the first time Olympus has included an IS in a lens that is not a pro lens, right? So it's not necessarily a bad thing. This is the first time, and you can use this IS in any Olympus bodies or even Panasonic bodies, which is interesting.
Yes,
so
and then there is
I don't see it as a bad thing at all. I don't see it as a bad thing.
Yeah, that's true. And then there is also a bit of a different thing with the switch. You have this IS on-off switch on the lens.
Yes.
So far
yes,
in the pro. So far in the pro lenses, if you turn that off, it will shut down the stabilizing completely. But with this lens, it will use only the body stabilizer. So it works a bit different, which might be a bit confusing. So it's a different thing. Like if you turn the lens IS off from the 12 to 100 millimeter, it will turn off everything. So in that sense, it works. I think that one is a bit better because then it uses
Olympus recommends, I think, turning for the bodies that are compatible, like the EM1 Mark III, EM1 Mark II, EM1X, and EM5 Mark III.
Yes.
You have to turn both on. Then you get the best results.
Yes.
Body and the lens. Then you get the best. For everything else, just the lens.
Yes.
But to be fair, Peter, this is something that I haven't talked about in my video as well. I have tested the lens. I turned off the lens IS, and I just used the body IS. And at about 100 to maybe 200, there's not much difference between the lens and the body IS. I tested them individually. Actually, the body IS may be slightly better at 100 mil, 150, 200. The body might be actually slightly better than the lens. But when you go to 300 and 400, that's where you can really tell, there's no question, the lens is better than the body. Because the shake happens, just in case someone asks, EM1 Mark III has what? 7 stops of EV, and this is EM1 Mark II. EM1 Mark II has like 5.5 stops EV in the body, but the lens only has 3. But you have to understand, no matter how powerful the body IS is, the body's image stabilization can only stabilize in the body. And look at the lens. And once I extend the lens, the shake happens here in the lens. It is away from the body, right? So it's very hard for the body to stabilize the lens. So that's why Olympus included the IS, especially for a long lens, so that it stabilizes the lens. So then you can get a much better result.
Yeah, that's
definitely.
Exactly.
I've tried. I've verified it. I also thought that, hey, maybe, EM1 Mark III with 7 steps, right? I can use the body will be better, but no. The Olympus is not lying. The lens is still better at the end of the day.
Yeah, and it is because that's the way it is. Longer lenses need stabilizing inside the lens because there is not enough room for this sensor to move because the movement, as you is a lot bigger in there than there's not enough movement or enough room in the camera. It had to be huge, and it wouldn't work. So that's why long lenses and need to have also stable. That's why the 300 has stabilizing. That's exactly the reason. So you have tried it with the MC20, right? Because that's something I did not. I only used it with MC14, and I didn't really see any big image quality difference. The only thing was that the AF was a bit slower, not much, but for me, when I'm not a very experienced bird photographer, for me it was quite hard to get really sharp flying birds. But that wasn't only the camera; it's also me. I'm not that used to doing that. But without the extender, no problem. So So I think it's quite fast. And I actually, in my Instagram, if you haven't seen, I got a couple of, one image of a really fast small bird, which I of course used Pro Capture to help me to nail it. But that was really, and it worked really well. So I think it is a really good lens for bird photographers and maybe sports too, because especially when you're doing bird photography, you might not have the ability to use so-called zoom or your feet as a zoom, but you need a zoom to do so. In that sense, it works. But how was it with the MC20?
I think coming back to your sharing earlier about the autofocus being not as efficient, that is not a surprise because the autofocus works because it's half contrast and phase detect, right? They work hand in hand together. So the camera needs to take photographs. We don't know that, but it happens anyway. As we half press the shutter button, the camera is taking a lot of photographs and we don't save them, but the camera will analyze the images that is taken and find the area that is with contrast, and that's how they determine the area that is in focus. So the camera needs the lens to have brighter aperture to have better autofocus. That is why f1.2 lenses, we can go down to -6 EV, which is really, really dark. Like if I use the f1.2, say Olympus 45 or 25 f1.2, I can actually, we're not even talking about starry sky AF. We're just talking about using EM1 Mark II or EM5 Mark III, using 45 f1.2, just put a focusing box on a star in the sky at night, it can still autofocus. It is that incredible because it's f1.2, right? Coming back to the 100 to 400 lens and teleconverter, why the autofocus is degraded when we use a teleconverter? Because the aperture is being sacrificed. When we attach the MC14, I think at 400 is f9, if I'm not wrong. Correct me if I'm wrong. If it's MC20, it's actually f13.
Yeah.
So, from f6 to f13, you lose twice. No, you lose half of the light.
Half of the light.
That is a lot of light loss. So of course the camera having less light to work with, so the autofocus will be compromised as well. But I don't find much issues shooting my birds because my birds don't fly. They are actually
that's not a problem then. No problem at all with that.
Yeah, so it's not a problem for me. But I feel that the MC20, when I use it, the problem is not so much of the image quality. I feel that the image quality is perfectly fine, but there are a lot of other problems that are very real. For example, when you attach MC20, this lens at the full end, if you zoom all the way, becomes 800 mm. That's 1600 equivalent. Yeah. That is the longest reach for micro four thirds system at the moment.
Yes.
1006, I tell you, it's not easy. All right. I don't know about you, Peter, but I don't use long lenses a lot, right? Like I'm a wedding photographer. I'm a street photographer, so I use like 25. I use 75, the longest. Even the 40 to 150, right? When I shoot weddings or events or people, I will zoom to 100. Maybe 125, sometimes 150. I don't even have 300. And I seldom use the 300, right? So I only use like 100, 150 the most. And that's like 1% of my photography, right? The most is like the rest, 75, 100 is enough. So from 100 to 150, suddenly with a teleconverter with this lens, I go to 800. That's, to me, it took a while for me to handhold and try to stabilize the shots. It's not easy, and it's nothing to do with the lens. It's nothing to do with the teleconverter. It's just that stabilizing that itself is not easy. I've mentioned earlier that the f13, that is a problem.
Yes.
Birds or animals, they don't come out under the sun. And okay, maybe certain parts of the world they do. Like in Africa, they have no choice, no other place to hide in the desert, but under the hot sun. But I am in Malaysia, where we have a lot of trees here. Our trees are so tall, and the birds and animals are always hiding in the bush. And once they are in shade, I look at the ISO numbers, I'm like, ISO 1600, I get 1/60th of a second. Yeah, 1/60th. There's a chance that the animal will move. I'm not scared of the shake. You know, the image stabilization works, and trust me, even 1/60th with the lens IS here is perfectly fine. But the animals can move, and you know, it's just challenging. So knowing that the f13 narrow aperture and you know hand holding is a challenge with such a long lens, I'm not experienced honestly. Those are bigger problems than the MC20 itself, and for certain scenarios where I have no issue under the bright sunlight, I use ISO 200, ISO 400. You know, the animals are not moving; they stay perfectly still. Image quality is amazing. Sharpness is there. Of course, it's not going to be as good as without teleconverter. Without, it's definitely better. But with it, teleconverter
exactly.
under ideal condition is still quite amazing.
Yeah.
But the challenges are real, though.
One question. This will fill the whole screen. There is Rob Trek is here. Hi, Rob, and thank you very much for the super chat. That was too much. But he asked that what is the closest focusing distance of the lens, and have you tried the extension tubes? Would make a great video for those of us that enjoy close-up photography. Thanks to both of you for all your hard work. So, did you try it with the extension tubes? Because I did not, but the closest focusing distance is, was it, do you have it, the lens, it says on the lens?
1.3 meters, the closest focusing distance, 1.3. It's the same throughout the entire zoom range from 100 to 400.
Yes. Yeah, that's a good thing. That's a good thing.
It is also the same if you attach the teleconverter, because the teleconverter doesn't change the behavior of the lens. It just magnifies the center part of the lens. So if you attach the teleconverter, it still stays the closest focusing distance is 1.3 meters from the sensor of the camera. I've not tested the teleconverter with the close-up shooting. That's 1006 is a little bit difficult for me to handle. But I have shot at 400 mm without teleconverter, the full zoom, and I've shot a few images. I have the sample images in my gallery, full size. You guys can check it out. There was a spider, I remember. I think the images look really great. But I have to be very honest, right? I am a inside macro photographer. I shoot a lot of inside macro. I have to be very honest. If you want to do macro photography, specifically just macro photography, don't get a long lens. It's not a good solution because it is hard to stabilize the shot. That's one.
That's true.
That's one, right? And secondly, while you stabilize the shot, you have to think about lighting. The insects, again, they don't come out under the hot sun. They get dehydrated. They always hide. Yep. And when they hide, the lighting is a challenge. You need to use flash, LED light, or some kind of lighting to light the subject, right? That's going to be a challenge. So I'm not saying that the close-up focusing distance is not good. Think of it this way. Buy this lens for the telephoto zoom range. Use it for birding, for wildlife, for if you shoot sports or events. Use it for the long reach. That's what you buy this lens for. The close-up shooting capability, the macro capability is a bonus. It helps you to create certain effects. It helps you to expand your photography opportunity. It allows you to do a bit more than just shooting, you know, what you shoot with this lens. But it shouldn't be the main strength of this lens, because if you really zoom in, the quality of this lens is also not. It's different from the macro lens. The Olympus 60 f2.8 is one of the most technically perfect lens out there, right? That is amazing because it's a macro lens. And it's just a different level of quality if you compare. So yes, it's amazing. I did have some shots. It works. I get very amazing magnification. But just bear in mind, don't buy this for macro. Because why I'm saying this, Peter, a lot of people tell me that, hey, you know, I can use 70-300 for macro. I can use 40 to 150 for macro. You know, it's 150 mm. It's better than 60. It goes longer. There is a wrong understanding of how macro works. A lot of people think, oh, you can zoom more, you can get better magnification. No, magnification is separate from the focal length. Focal length is focal length, how far you reach, but magnification is not dependent on the focal length. So I hope those who are confused, please go and read out a little bit. Like, the longer the lens doesn't mean that it's better for macro, right?
And actually, when we tested with Matti Sulanto, we tested the Panasonic version against the Olympus version. It wasn't actually a battle. But they both have the same closest focusing distance, but the Olympus lens had a bit better magnification. So it was actually, the image was actually, you could get closer even though you're at the same distance because the magnification is a bit bigger. And I totally agree with Robin about that it is, I think it's a good thing that you can do close-ups with that long lens, because if you, let's say that you go out in the woods and you want to photograph some birds and you don't see any birds, like usually happens to me, then you can, if you don't like the insects like I don't, then you can, make images of flowers or other plants and stuff like that, which it works very nice. Of course, it depends. If it's really dark, then it might be a bit hard, but I think in that sense, it's really good that it has a quite close focusing distance, and it can be used as a close-up for, it's an additional bonus for the lens, like Robin said, and I totally agree. And if you're really into macro, then there are better solutions like the 60mm f2.8 macro lens, for example, which would be better. And if you, Robin, see any questions, I have a bit of a problem with the fonts. The questions.
Oh, okay. Let me quickly scroll through.
So if you have any questions, and we can then, if there are any questions about the lens right now, we can.
I saw a few just now. Let me just quickly go through. Let me see. Jack De La Cruz asks, how is the chromatic aberration, especially when using the lens with MC20? I don't see any chromatic aberration problems. I think, okay, here is the issue you have to understand. When you ask about the quality of the MC20, you're actually asking about the quality of the 100 to 400 lens. The MC20 is just magnifying the center part of the lens. So if the 100 to 400 is a bad lens, you will see a lot of problems. Now, the 100 to 400 is an amazing lens. The chromatic aberration control is amazing. It has 2 super AD elements in it. I did see a little bit like minor traces of like purple fringing in very, very harsh situation, but it's so minor that if you don't zoom in pixel peak, you won't even see it. And if you are really, really, you can't stand it, you can easily correct it in Lightroom or any editing software, right? So having said that, when you attach MC20, you will see the same thing, exact same thing because it's the same lens. You're just magnifying the center part. You will get like that tiny trace in very harsh condition, but it shouldn't be a problem. All right, shall we continue to pick up more questions?
Yeah, if you see anything,
Vladimir Malchev, sorry if I pronounce your names wrong. Yeah, I'm in Malaysia, so a lot of your names are very foreign to me. Right, so I apologize.
Let's see how this is a bit.
How is the image quality with MC14 and MC20? You will see slight degradation because the MC14 and MC20 is just magnifying the center part of the lens. So in comparison to, say, 300 Pro or 40 to 150 Pro, these are Pro lenses and the optics are way superior. It can resolve a lot more details. So when you attach MC14 and MC20 on the Pro lenses, you will get better results. So this 100 to 400 is not a Pro lens. Although the lens itself, the quality is amazing, it's still very sharp, you get very good details and contrast. But because they are not Pro lenses and you magnify the center part, you will see slight loss of quality. It will appear a little bit softer. But in my experience, under ideal lighting condition, you still get amazing results. I have a lot of samples in my blog and my video. Please check it out. Right?
That
more
was
questions.
good. And let's see. And then there's one question from, I put it off, A.G. Johnson, that do you think there will be a long f4 Pro zoom, a companion to the 12 to 45 f4 Pro? Probably he means that is there going to be a 40 to 150 or something like that?
I hope so.
Yeah, me too, because many times I've said that the 12 to 45 millimeter f4 Pro lens is actually my favorite go-to lens right now. But the funny thing is that I don't have the lens right now because Matti has it. He's going to make a video about it, and I think he's going to publish it on Friday. So if you're interested in Matti Solanto's opinion of the 12 to 45 f4, and I was actually present when he was doing that video, so I know his, but I'm not gonna tell you. I was helping him with the filming of that. So.
I mean, talking about the f4 zoom, I would love it to be a bit longer, like say 50 to 250. I don't know, 50 to 250 f4. That'll be great.
Yeah, but there's actually one interesting thing that if we talk some other brands, there is a one camera company which starts with a C that introduced f11 telephoto lenses.
Yes.
And I think that was an interesting, because there's been a lot of talking about the equivalent F number and such, and I think that was part of the thing of that particular company, that they actually seen that the benefit of a small lens, which I think, but we have to remember that when a 600 millimeter is f11, it's not the same thing, because
true,
the light it's still a 5.0 or f4 lens to 300 millimeter. It's still faster when we talk about light. Anyways, of course, the depth of field is more close to that f11, but still, I think it's still better to have a 300 millimeter f4 than 600 millimeter f11.
That's true.
So that's an interesting thing, but that's about the other companies now. It was just an interesting thing that I realized. And let's see. So what do you think when Pete 2E is asking that he's tempted to pick up the 100 and 400 to pair with the 12 to 100 millimeter f4? That would be a pretty good combination. And then you'll probably, if you don't need really fast lenses, I think you're all set with that combination. I think that is a good combination. Because the thing is about lenses and the amount of lenses that people have, we don't actually need that many. The pros, sometimes we just have to have some lenses because we get requested from clients, and then you need to deliver it. If you don't have the gear, then you're in trouble. But when you're just having fun photographing for yourself, then I don't think, because my dream would be just like 1 or 2 lenses and that's it. If I was just a hobbyist, I wouldn't like to have a lot of lenses, because I think it's a pain to have a lot of gear. Just have to have it.
And on that note, I think I agree with you, Peter, because yesterday I went to an event. This is a huge deal because, since the lockdown and everything, we don't have events, right? So I've attended one of the events. It's a very rare occasion. And I wanted to make a video of the event, just a short. I actually published in my second channel already, my gadgets channel. Anyway, the story is this. I went there with EM5 Mark III because I want to keep everything small and light. I brought all my prime lenses, 12 f2, 17 f1.8, 45 f1.8, and 75 f1.8, because I was afraid that the venue will be low light, and I don't want to use high ISO, right? Because the EM5 Mark III doesn't have OM log; it only has flat profile, so there's only so much I can do with high ISO. So the best solution is use f1.8 lens. But I also brought a 12 to 40 f2.8, just in case, right? The 12 to 40 in case I need something easy and convenient. And you know what happened? At the end of the day, because the lighting was not so bad, I used the 12 to 40 for the entire session from the whole event. Yes. And I actually, and I look at the video, I was very happy with the video.
That's good.
I didn't wish I was used other lenses. So yeah, one lens is enough. Seriously.
That's good. And then there was one question about the use of that lens with the EM10 Mark III. And it perfectly fits. No problem with that. The only thing is it might be a bit unbalanced, but if you can live with that, then by all means, it's totally usable. I haven't tried it actually because I don't have the lens right now with me, because it's so...
The reason why Olympus
Go ahead.
puts the image stabilization in this lens is because they want everyone else to use it, right? Because the IS is inside the lens, and this is not a pro lens, specifically not a pro lens. So it has image stabilization, so all other Olympus cameras or Panasonic cameras can utilize this lens. So which is quite interesting. Yeah.
Let's see. Yeah, there was some I was asking about, and then about a Laowa lens. It's about one topic question. Have you already tried out the new Laowa 50mm 2.8 2x Apo Ultra Macro? To be honest, I have not, but I saw some specs about it and pictures, and it looks really interesting. And Laowa lenses are interesting. I've tested a few of them, and nothing really wrong with them. But I haven't tested that one, so I can't say anything about it.
Yeah, the thing about lenses is that because there are a lot of these interesting third-party lenses, and my money or my funds are not unlimited, and these companies are quite far away from Malaysia. I don't think that they come all the way here, and a lot of these things we can only buy online from overseas retailers, and I can't buy all the time. I bought one recently, the Kamlan 50mm f1.1, because it's an f1.1 lens, and I was having a great time playing with that. But I can't do this all the time. It's like once or twice, in a while. Then it's fine, right? And this 50mm f2.8 macro doesn't sound cheap.
I
wonder
have no
how much
idea
it costs.
how much it costs, but we actually have an importer here in Finland for Laowa, so I could probably ask them if they have any. I'm not really sure because they don't have every lens that Laowa has. They only have certain
Even
models,
your
but that's something to consider.
cheap.
Maybe I'll try to do something about it and see if I can get it. Let's see. What about? Yeah, there's somebody is asking that. What about having one of those bigger live streams where more of us are? They wouldn't want to have Rob online. Yeah, we could work out. We did have this. Rob did in, I think it was in the beginning of this year when everything
we did
when
that.
everything was fine and 2020 looked really promising. That was.
And then the virus came.
Yeah, then something happened and everything went,
Yeah.
what should we do? Let's see. Yeah, this was about the weather sealing on 100 and 400 millimeter, and Robin was telling that on his video he poured some water on the lens, so it is
bottle of water,
it is fully weather sealed. So if you have a weather sealed body with that lens, then you're all covered and all set, and no worries about the weather. Because I always say that on a bad weather, you get really great images because you don't see them that much, because usually people like to photograph when it's nice weather. Like me, I should go out with the bad weather. We have plenty of it here in Finland. So,
Jen Garcia asked, do JPEG chromatic aberration and distortion correction work when using Panasonic lenses? I would believe that they do. But some of the Panasonic lenses have quite severe purple fringing. I don't know, for whatever reason, that it's not because you use it on Olympus body that you have it. I have actually reviewed, before I became an Olympus Visionary, there was a period of time where I reviewed like Canon, Sony, and even Panasonic cameras. I have tested the GH4, GH5, and I also used the 8 to 18, 12 to F1, 12 f1.4. The 12 f1.4 is very interesting. It has some issues, and these issues with the purple haze or the chromatic aberration, they are actually on Panasonic bodies. So if they are on Panasonic bodies, if you put it on Olympus bodies, you will see them as well. So yes, they're actually correct because micro four thirds, they're fully compatible. The distortion and the chromatic aberration, the information is stored in the raw file. It's stored in the raw file. If it's JPEG, then it's already corrected. You don't even have to worry. If it's stored in the raw file, it's automatically corrected. You don't have to worry about it. It's just that to what extent of the correction, that I can't say. Because, of course, Panasonic will correct their own lenses a little bit better. Olympus will correct their own lenses a little bit better. That I don't know. But yes, there are corrections happening.
Yeah, and that's the reason is that in some lenses, if you use Panasonic lenses and Olympus bodies, the correction isn't that effective because the way they correct it or make the lenses is a bit different philosophy. That's what I read. But unfortunately, I cannot say the exact technical terms because I don't remember them. But there was something that it's kind of like reduced in a different way, and that might cause in some lenses more than others. But in general, usually if you are using Lightroom or Photoshop, it usually corrects them automatically because it's built into the system. But if you use some third party, that's a wrong word. But if you use any other image editing software, then there might be some problems that you might have to do it manually. But that's usually easy. Just make a preset out of it and apply that because it usually applies the same way. So that's really good. And let's see what else. Good evening, Burana. And
Verana from Thailand, I believe.
yeah,
Bangkok.
the name sounds like that, but I'm not really sure. It's actually in these days it's really at least here in Finland to assume that where somebody is born because of their names. It's been honest. That's why I don't say, because it's a kind of like a
This is
issue
fun.
here, at least here in Finland. But
Oh, okay.
because there are a lot of Finns that have foreign names, and if you start thinking that they're foreigners, and they might have been born here in Finland, so it's that's why. But it's
But to me, I feel like it's always interesting to
of course.
find out people from other parts of the
Oh,
world.
yeah.
I'm very fascinated with different cultures. And
That's why, if you see someone who doesn't have a Finnish name and you ask, then some people take it, yeah, it's fine, because I'm actually interested in the place where they might be from, and it's not.
True.
But we'll talk about photography.
Korna,
All right, somebody from it's great
He
to have
asked,
someone from Australia too now.
50mm f1.1. He used it on the Fuji. He loved the bokeh, but it's really creamy on the X-T2. Now, if your background has nothing, no highlights, if there's nothing messy in the background, of course, the background will be creamy. Any lens will render very creamy bokeh. That's just given. But once you have something in the background, if you have bad light happening in the background, with a lot of harsh light and a lot of things going around, then you get those very messy, very harsh, and very distracting background. It is actually very bad. I actually rank, of all the lenses that I've used in my life, that Canon lens has the worst bokeh. This is what I'm gonna say. Creaminess, of course, if you have nothing, everything is just nothingness, right? Because it's f1.1. But we're not just talking about blur. We're not talking about shallow depth of field. We are talking about the quality of the blur. The quality of the focus area is just bad. I'm sorry. It's just so bad.
Yeah, that's an important thing, because we always talk about the image sharpness, or how sharp the lens is, but actually most lenses today, modern lenses, are really sharp. It's not a problem at all in most cases. But the thing that changes is how the unsharp is kind of like rendered. What does the bokeh or the background look like? And that's, I think, makes the difference in different lenses. And it's not about the sharpness. Well, of course, that's one part of it, but still. Let's see about, before we start talking about the camera, there's some, Michael Robbins is asking, I've taken several sequences of focus stack photos with the 12 to 100mm f4 Pro with very disappointing results. Is it me or the lens? And do you use focus stacking or bracketing when you do macro, Robin?
No, I don't. Single shot, because I use flash, and I don't want to wait for the flash to fire 10 times.
That's true. But do you have any suggestions what might be wrong? But one thing what I think is that, are you, Michael, using a tripod? Because that usually makes it easier. Yes. Because if you're doing focus stacking, you can do it handheld, but it's a lot harder. And also, if you're doing it handheld, then maybe the image stabilizer that's in the lens might make the image, because it doesn't take exact the same cropping every time. Even though I'm not quite sure if the IS is on when you put on stacking. I think it might turn it off. Actually, I have never realized that, because I always turn it off myself when I start thinking about it. But that could be one thing. It depends.
Ananda is in the house. Hi, Ananda. How are you? A friend from Australia.
Oh,
Martin
okay,
knows him as well.
Cool. So what I really like about this, sometimes people start talking with each other on the chat here, and they're living in their own world and talking. I love it. I love it, and people are helping each other. Somebody asks, and
true.
That's really the best part. Oh, Ananda Sim, hi there. How are you? Now, this is an interesting question. Tyler Wong is asking, Robin, have you tried to use the 400mm lens with 2x magnifying? Can you capture Mars?
I can see the Martians as well, or the Martians insects.
Yeah. Yeah,
Well,
but
the
at
most
least,
I have tried was the moon, not the
yeah, the moon
Mars.
is
The moon.
actually that is something that I'm planning on if I can get a hold of the 100 and 400 millimeter with the
Yeah.
MC20 to the September 1st. There's full moon, so
Oh
if the weather is
yes.
good, I might try to do something with that. But let's see if I can get the lens. And let's see. Should we talk about the EM10 Mark IV next, and we can come
Yes.
back to the lens if there are some more
No
questions.
worries. Sounds like a
But
plan.
how did you feel about that? Because I said in my video that it will be, when I made the first impression video, that I said that it is a good camera, then and I will be using it as my go-to camera, and it actually has replaced my EM5 Mark III, because and the funny thing is that it was only, of course, the look and feel, but the grip, it's so much better. It's
Yes.
so much better that I don't need any extra thing. I have the kit lens now because the 12 to 45, as I said, is or Matti has it now because he's making a video about it. But how did you feel about that camera?
I think it is a very photography-centric camera. It gets a lot of heat for not having certain video features, like mic, microphone input, and swivel screen. But if you look at it from a photography point of view, it is actually an excellent camera. And the fact that it has tilt screen, tilt up and down, for street photographers or even event and wedding photographers is better. It's better that way because it's just one motion and you're ready to shoot, right? And if you want to be stealthy, I'm a street photographer. Sometimes I want to take photographs without people knowing. So I will just, when the screen's behind the camera, people don't know that you are taking photograph. But because if you are using swivel screen, you have to flip out the screen. Once you flip out the screen, people know that you are doing something. So in terms of stealth, I think that the tilt screen is better. And
I agree.
Yeah, having used the EM10 series, because I'm a fan of the EM10, the first one and the second one, and the third one not so much because they honestly took out too many features that I like. They even took out originally they took out the wireless flash control. I've made a lot of noise.
But they actually put it back with the firmware.
They put it back after that. I was like, why did you take it out? I was so angry with that. Anyway, they took out so many stuff from the EM10 Mark III. Now that the EM10 Mark IV, I can understand what they're doing, but then they have updated the sensor, which we have now the 20 megapixel sensor. They even improved the IS. So overall, I think it's a very good camera for beginners, people who just started or maybe step up from phones, smartphone photography. I think for photography, I don't see anything much to complain about. It's a great camera.
Yeah, I can totally agree. And then also what I actually like about this, which I will look into more, is the wide panorama thing, that it actually makes the panorama inside a camera. And that's a really, if you have this as a, your travel camera, and you can actually get some nice panorama shots. And I don't know why, but I've recently gone more and more to, when making images, to 16:9. Maybe it's the video. I kind of like, I don't know, but I really like the
more cinematic.
It's more, that's, maybe it is more cinematic.
Cinematic, yeah. Longer, right? Longer.
Yeah, I think I kind of like those, and that's why the panorama is really nice to do, and it worked pretty well. But you have to, if you tilt the camera like this and start swiping, then it's in a bit of a trouble. You have to have it quite leveled. But I will probably make a video about how to use it and how it actually works. It actually won't give you more megapixels though. It actually might be less, which is kind of funny.
Oh,
but
okay.
But I have to look into that a bit more. It's just having fun with it, but then start maybe looking more into it. And other things, what I liked about this is that they put back the silent shutter for every.
Oh yes.
Because that is so important for many. Because let's say that you have your kid playing in a band or violin, and you like to take images. And you have one of these. With the Mark III, you couldn't do it because everything was automatic if you use the electronic shutter. But this one is corrected, and I think that was one of the biggest things. that is improved, because sometimes, and it's also with the stealth, and then it has this this selfie screen too, that it goes under it, and you can and the a lot of people are saying that this is actually quite stupid, and in a way it is, because you have the tripod mount here. But actually, a couple of years ago, I made a video about a tripod which I made, that the camera hangs from here. It's kind of like, so it's hanging. So you could actually have a kind of like a thing here on the hot shoe, and then.
Wait, where did you find that? That's nice.
It's actually a quite old. It's not very good video. I'm a bit embarrassed about the whole video, but the idea is pretty good.
Now you make us curious. We will go and find a video after this.
Yeah, I will put the link in the description. But the good thing about having the screen below is that a lot of times when you're doing let's say vlogging, I know if you're not very experienced, a lot of people look at themselves and not in the lens.
Like me, I look at myself.
And it's actually a bit distracting. But if the screen is down here, it looks more like you're looking into the lens, because it's kind of like on the same axis in a way, instead when it's up.
Yeah.
And it's actually a benefit on that, but I agree that it's a bit hard with the tripod. But otherwise, it works really nice. And otherwise, the look and feel of this is about the same as the other tent, except the grip, which is so much better. And when I first took this into my hand, I was like, how does this feel so good? Such a small thing makes a really big difference, because that's, end of the day, the whole thing comes in photography is, of course, the photographs, but how do you feel with the camera? It's the specs has nothing to do with it. It's it's a look and feel, and how do you kind of like feel when you're holding your camera. I think that's the most important thing, at least for me.
I just want to share like some of the things that I have seen from Japan. Because previously I have worked for Olympus. I was an employee from 2013 to 2017. For 4 years, I was the product specialist for Olympus Malaysia. And I had the privilege to go to product trainings in Japan. This was one of the reasons why I knew some things that a lot of people don't about the Olympus cameras. And they actually showed us how they design the grip for EM1 and the EM1 Mark II. They actually have a block of wood, and they carve the block of wood. They have a lot of carvings, and they'll carve one, get a lot of other different photographers to try it, get their feedback, refine it, get more people to try it. They keep refining until they got the perfect one, and they made it into the EM1 and EM1 Mark II grip. That's how much attention and effort that they put into the camera handling and ergonomics itself. So when you pick up the camera, especially if you know EM1 and EM1 Mark II, EM1 Mark III, and even the EM1X, once you pick it up, you'll feel that it just wraps around your hand. It's just perfect.
It is.
I don't get this with other camera brands. I'm sorry. Only Olympus gets this right. They put so much effort, right?
Yeah, and there is actually a story about that. I heard that they usually have a 50 different mounts of different wooden dummies, but with the X they had double amount of those, so they did even more work, because it actually, I think the most important thing was because it has the built-in the grip, so it kind of like has two grips, so they needed double amount of excuse me they needed double amount of samples to test, because it was two ways. Oh, let's see.
Let me say hi to some people. Roman K. Hi, Roman K is everywhere. I see him from Rob's live streams. He's here. Thanks for joining, Roman.
Yeah, nice thank you very much. Thanks for everybody for joining.
There are some Malaysians. Chan KS saying what we. Hi guys. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks so much for the support. Hopefully when the pandemic situation, the MCO is over, Olympus Malaysia will have more events, and I'll get to see you guys, and we'll go out and shoot. That'll be fun. Yeah,
that is.
As well. Yeah.
And this is something that has come up about the tripod socket on
Ah.
EM5 Mark III, and I've seen a couple of pictures when it has actually cracked. I don't have the problem, but on the other hand, I do have an extra grip on it, and never, but very seldom use it on a tripod. So I cannot say about that. Do you have any insights on that, Robin?
Okay. So this question was asked by Ananda, right? If I'm
Yes,
not wrong.
Ananda, yes.
So Ananda, I bought my EM5 Mark III in December. And ever since then, from December until now, we are in August, for the past 8 months, the camera that you see me use for video on my vlog, the YouTube channel, all the cameras, all the videos were taken with EM5 Mark III, except a few, which I specifically mentioned, like either it's EM1 Mark III or I need to test those cameras, right? But I can tell you, 99%, that's more than 100 videos already, right? They were taken with, because I do 2 videos every week. Every single video was taken with EM5 Mark III, and every single time I have to put on the tripod plate onto it and mount it onto the tripod. And every time I have to take it off, I've done this for more than 100 times or maybe 200 times now. No issue. The tripod mount is still perfectly fine. And I have mounted, I think the largest lens that I've mounted on it was 40 to 150. But then if you mount 40 to 150, you shouldn't mount it directly onto the camera.
Nope.
You should use the tripod mount. So that's not even an issue. But that's the largest lens that I put on the tripod. But other than that, my lenses are 75 f1.8, 1240. I mean, how many big lenses are there from Olympus? Not that many, right? These are already very big lenses. I don't have the 12 to 100. I think maybe that could be an issue because it's quite big. I mean, bigger than
that
most.
lens is quite big, yes.
I have used it every week, at least 1 week, 2 times, 3 times. No issues. So I'm not denying that the problem exists. Maybe there are some manufacturing defects. I don't know about that. But from I can only speak from my personal experience. Having used it so frequently, so frequently, I have no issue. The tripod part of the mount of the camera is still perfectly fine. So yeah, if that helps to make you feel a little bit better about the camera.
Yeah, let's see what else. Were there any other things? Do you people have any questions about this camera? And I think we covered this pretty much. You did test the video. How was the video quality? Actually, I have to admit I haven't seen that video yet.
I think
Sorry.
the 4K video is very good.
Okay.
I think that the continuous autofocus was improved from EM10 Mark II and Mark III. You can see the improvement, but it's not as good as EM1 Mark III or EM5 Mark III. The continuous autofocus, especially for the face in video, I still think that the EM5 Mark III and EM1 Mark III is superior. In terms of stabilization, it's amazing. Actually, I know that the EM5 Mark III and EM1 Mark III are better, but it's still amazing. I think that was the selling point or the key differentiating factor between the EM10 Mark IV and other cameras from other manufacturers is the image stabilization in video. It's just fantastic.
It is.
Other than that, nothing much to comment actually, because there's no microphone input and there's only so much that you can do. But one thing that I do want to talk about besides video, we'll come back to video, is that, Peter, do you notice that the battery life in the EM10 Mark IV is quite long? Or is it just...
it is better than the previous.
I feel it's better. It's better than
it's actually even better than EM5 Mark III too.
I know.
Yeah. I don't know what happened, right?
The battery life
that's a good thing, because that was a bit of an issue with the EM5 Mark III, because it was actually shorter than, and that's about the only bad thing about that camera. for my use.
I thought I was imagining things. So yeah, the battery life is. I got home with like 700-800 shots, and it's only left like 1 bar. It's still pretty okay.
And you can remember, Robin, if you have this camera and while you have that overpriced coffee, you can USB charge it.
True, very true.
Yeah, so it's also, but you cannot use it while you use the USB. You can only charge it. You can only charge it.
Okay.
And it's a micro USB, and that's probably why. But it's a good thing that you can use the external batteries. or power banks or whatever you call those to charge your battery. And that's what I usually use on my trips, that I have a power bank in my bag, and then just, when I drink the normal price coffee, then I charge my camera. Let's see. Were there any other? Let's see. There was a question about SS70. Yes. Any more conf options back from Mark II in the Mark IV that were removed from Mark III? One thing that they did not is the ability to assign my sets or custom modes to the mode dial, and I think that is something they should do, because some doesn't really use AP or the advanced photo modes or scene modes or art modes or something. So that could be one thing that they should have done, in my opinion. But I don't really remember. The one thing was the silent shutter, at least, and then that was probably the main thing. if I remember correctly, but I have to really think about. But I don't come up with any other.
Sure. Dex Fernandez is asking, is it worth buying EM10 Mark IV from EM5 Mark I? I can only think of one advantage from the EM5 Mark I, is weather sealing. Everything else is improved in the EM10 Mark IV, because EM10 Mark IV doesn't have weather sealing, right? You have better sensor, new 20 megapixel sensor, better image stabilization, better video. You have 4K. You have better autofocus. Everything is improved. You even have better EVF and LCD screen in comparison to the
And a better grip.
Yes, a better grip as well. Yes. So the only thing that the EM5 Mark I has superior is the weather sealing. That's the only thing. So if that's important to you, if you shoot in the rain, then don't get the EM10 Mark IV. You'll be shooting yourself in the foot. But if you can sacrifice that, then go for the EM10 Mark IV.
Yeah, exactly.
Logan said, I drink too much coffee. No, you can never have enough coffee. No. more. I'm powered by coffee. I need more coffee.
And this is an interesting... Rahul Dhari is asking, how is Olympus 12 to 50mm MFD lens? That's unfortunately discontinued, but I really like that lens because it has a possibility to have an electronic zoom or manual zoom, and then it's pretty good in macro too. And it was, if I remember correctly, it also was weather sealed, wasn't it?
Yes, it is weather sealed.
Yeah,
I have a very interesting story with the 12 to 50 lens. That lens is very special to me because this was at a time way long time ago. Before I'm involved with Olympus, I was still an engineer. Then I worked full-time as an engineer. And Olympus Malaysia, I already have a relationship with Olympus Malaysia. I was testing the 12 to 50. And apparently, Olympus Japan, they were very happy with my images taken with the 12 to 50. They offered to buy my photographs. So they paid for my photographs, and they used the photographs to print in a brochure, the kind of, what you call that, the pamphlets or the brochures that they give out or they show at the retailers. Like you go to the shops when you want to buy the lens, and they show you the brochures. And inside the brochures, they make it into like a photo book. Okay. And that photo book contains like 30 of my photographs taken with the 1250. So I was very proud of that. You have to know that time I'm not a professional photographer. I was still a hobbyist. I was an engineer. So when that happened, I was so happy. And the cool thing is when I started working for Olympus and I get to travel to Japan, and I went to the shop and looked for that brochure, and I found it.
Great.
And I actually I begged the shop, can I keep it? They say no, they don't allow. I think they think that I'm a crazy person. Okay, sorry. Coming back to the 12 to 50, Fahim Adun Noor, he's asking, what did he ask?
How is Olympus 12 to 50mm?
Oh, how is the lens? Oh, Rahul.
Yeah.
Okay, I think that it is an amazing lens, but you have to understand it is not a pro lens. there is a difference between a pro lens and a non-pro lens, right? So once you understand that, you also realize that in terms of optical quality, if you compare with 12 to 40, 12 to 40, the image quality is a different level. So if you've managed that, if you're okay with that, it is an excellent lens. It's weather sealed. It's 12 to 50. You have a longer range. It has electronic zoom for silent video. Right. It also has a dedicated macro mode. You can go very, very close to the subject, much closer than most lenses. Not as close as a true macro, but the macro performance is incredible.
Yes,
so
it is.
You can do a lot with that lens. I think it's a great lens.
Yeah, and also it has the LFN button. If that's something that you use, then that's a really good thing for those who use it. I really don't use it that much sometimes, but not that much. But if that's a thing, then that is a good option if you can find it. And that is something.
I feel that the LFN button for that 12 to 50 works because it doesn't have a manual focusing clutch.
Yes.
So it can be a quick autofocus to manual focus switch.
That's true. Right? Yeah, that's true. Let's see. What else do we have here? And yeah, there is Ingrid Wittenberg Koch is asking, I have an old Nikon AF lens 60mm 2.8. Can I use this on the Mark III or Mark IV? And that's a great thing about Micro Four Third cameras, that you can have a adapter for almost any lens. But of course, if you don't have one of those speed boosters or those that have electricity going through, then you don't have the ability to adjust the aperture if it's a fully automated lens, and then of course it works only in manual focus. Some Nikon lenses do have the aperture ring, and then it's of course usable mechanical, but I'm not sure if that, because I don't really know that much about Nikon lenses. But yes, that's a really good benefit on the Micro Four Third systems. Do you, Robin, have any other brand lenses that you use adapters with? Any vintage lenses or something like that?
I don't have no experience with adapted lenses. Mainly because to me autofocus is very important. I don't want to lose that for the kind of photography that I do. I do events, weddings, people. I can't use manual focus. It's just impossible. So I know that most people use these lenses because it's for fun. It's for leisure. And those lenses are really, really cheap, and some of them have very good character as well. I just can't justify buying them at this moment. So sorry, I don't know much experience coming from me.
Yeah, what I like about those vintage lenses, I have a few from I haven't bought them lately, but I have some old lenses that I bought years back. And what I like about those is the character of the lens. Those lenses might not be tacked sharp because they're so old and they're not made for digital. It's a bit different thing. But the character of many of those lenses are really, really interesting, and you can get really nice, a different look to your images with vintage lenses. And if you can get them really cheap, then why not try it just for fun? Because there's one good thing also about vintage lenses. You can usually sell it with the same price you bought it. And with some lenses, you can even make money, because
True.
if you get a rare lens that's something special, you might sell it a couple of years after and get more money out of it. And you still have the great images that you took with it. So it's something that you should experiment, because that is a lot of fun. Let's see what else. And then there is one question, barrel burns. Oh, it's actually not a question, it's actually an answer. Yes, you can use the battery grip from EM1 Mark II on the EM1 Mark III.
Oh, yes.
It's because it's exactly the body outside. There's not much difference. Only difference, I think, is the placement of a couple of buttons, and then the logo is in the front and not on the top. But the size is exactly the same from the bottom. So you can.
Cockpit Fish, is that how we pronounce your name? Sorry, Cockpit Fish asks, why do you think the EM5 Mark III is not supported by the webcam software while the older EM5 Mark II is? The EM5 Mark II has the tethering shooting function, meaning that you can connect the USB on the camera to a computer and use the Olympus capture software. And you can control the camera from the computer, and when you shoot while you're tethered, your image can be transferred to the computer immediately. That's tethering. Olympus removed that tethering feature from the EM5 Mark III. That is why there's no webcam feature. Now, the webcam feature, which Olympus released recently, the OMD webcam software, is very interesting. It actually uses the live view feed of the tethering. So once the camera is tethered to a computer, it's not really a video. It's just the camera has a live view on the LCD screen on the EVF, right? So that is being shown on the computer. That's it. That's it.
Yes.
And only with tethering capability that Olympus can make use of the OMD software. So unfortunately, the EM5 Mark III didn't have that. I know a lot of people are very disappointed. They say, Robin, this is a new camera. It should have has all the features. But here is the problem. Now, Olympus is in a very difficult situation. When they design a product, they have to look at the previous product. It is just normal. Every company does this. Now, be honest. Look around people who use the EM5 Mark III. How many people actually use the tethering software? 1%? 0.1%? Because nobody uses it, then Olympus decided to take it away. It's a business decision. I'm not saying that it's a good thing. I also wish that my EM5 Mark III has the webcam software and everyone can use it. But it is just reality because not many people use the tethering software. So that's why it's being removed and we don't have the webcam.
Yeah, but now that the webcam thing is kind of like needed because of the situation, then that would have been really great. But there are softwares like the streaming software eCam that I'm using that can also use, but you don't need it because I think the webcam software is only for PC. I don't think there's a Mac version for that.
Nope.
So then you need eCam to use, but then of course that's limited to certain things. So the webcam software would be really good. There's not really any difference except the image quality isn't as good as streaming with the video capture device, but it's not big difference, so it doesn't really matter.
If you guys are wondering, I'm using the EM1 Mark III and a 17 f1.2 lens. You are looking at me through EM1 Mark III and 17 f1.2.
Yeah, I have the same camera, EM1 Mark III, but the 12 to 40 millimeter lens.
So nice.
And I have 60 minutes still with the battery. So
how much is mine? 57. Well, about same time.
Okay, we have about an hour. I got 2 batteries fully charged back there, so no problem. We can go on. Because if the battery runs out, the stream does not. So I can switch hot swap kind of. There might be a big delay on the broadcast. All right, Jimmy is on the line. Hi there, Jimmy. How are you?
Really? Where's Jimmy?
Yeah.
Hey, Jimmy. How are you? Red 35.
Is there still a hot weather? Because he posted on Facebook that he was making images masked with the 35-degree temperature for several hours, and I can imagine that
35 degrees is nothing, Jimmy. Come to Malaysia.
That's nothing. Okay. All right. Sorry. Yeah. And I think Jimmy has just started again his Facebook Lives. Am I correct?
Oh, he has.
I think he had a Facebook post that he's back on, and those are really fun. He has a special subject for almost every day. I hope I'm not advertising something he doesn't do anymore, but please, Jimmy, tell us if you're still doing your Facebook Lives, so people.
That would be really cool. Really cool.
Those are really good. I've been watching them a couple of times when I'm sitting on my computer and seeing that he's online. It's really interesting stuff and a lot of good stuff about Olympus gear and other stuff too. Okay.
Craig is asking, will each of you continue to be ambassadors with the Olympus camera division change? He says, I sure hope so. You're both very valuable to us. Thank you so much, Craig. At this point, we don't know. We just spoke just now earlier on before the stream, myself and Peter. But hey, guys, rest assured, we are not going anywhere. Even if we are not Olympus ambassadors, we will still be taking photographs. We will still be making, videos.
Exactly.
And we do hope that you guys will stay with us. Okay.
Oh yeah, exactly. Exactly.
We're not
That's
going
our.
anywhere. So the
That's
question is,
our.
are you going anywhere? So hey, we are here.
Yeah, that's also a question, and yeah, of course we don't know what happens. I can say that my contract ends in the end of the year, and
Same.
what happens after that, I don't know yet.
I also don't know.
We'll see, but I will continue using Olympus gear that I have, and will making videos about photography and the gears. So don't worry, if you're not going anywhere, either am I. You stuck with me. Sorry.
We are still here, so.
Oh, okay, Red. I think this is about the Facebook Lives. Haha, I do. We'll be restarting after next week. So be sure to check out Jimmy's Red 35 Facebook page and check out those daily. At least they were daily in before summer. Really good stuff. Really good stuff. And let's see. There's some comment that I want to just highlight. By Secret Airline. Hi guys, you make a great team. Yeah, there is what I really like about the Micro Four Thirds and Olympus people that are doing videos, that we talk to each other, not every day, but well, I talk to Matti, but he's not an Olympus, he's a Micro Four Thirds, a Panasonic. We talk almost every day.
He's a friend.
But yeah, he's a friend too, so that's why. But we talk a lot about photography, and that's why it's a great team. And if there are any who hasn't subscribed to Robin or Rob Trek or Matti or Jimmy Red 35, go right after this video. Check out those channels if those are new, because there's a lot of great stuff about photography and Micro Four Thirds and Olympus gear. So that's you have an assignment to do after this. And of course, if you haven't subscribe to my channel, then you can do that too.
Yeah, please subscribe to Peter's. If you're not, what are you doing? Why you shouldn't be here? You must subscribe.
Yeah.
All right, Pete 2E asked, do you think we will see meaningful firmware release for EM1 Mark III or any other model that includes new features? Knowing Olympus history, now let's say that Olympus is not being sold, because at this point, we really don't know what's going to happen next. But let's say that Olympus is not being sold, and the imaging division is business as usual. Everything is going on normally. We will see a lot of firmware upgrades, and Olympus even promised a new feature for the EM1X, which will include the intelligent subject tracking, the bird subject tracking, which is really impressive, right?
That is huge. That is huge.
Yes, and knowing Olympus, they have looking at EM5 Mark II, EM1, even EM1 Mark II, there's at least 4 versions of firmware upgrades, and each version will have a lot of major improvements, upgrades, and inclusion of new features. Just look at what Olympus did with the EM1 Mark II last year. I think sometime in June, there was what version 3.0, where they upgraded the new algorithm for the continuous autofocus, better video. They included OM log 400 and so many new functionality into the camera. It's like a new camera. So like I said, if everything is going as usual, we will see those firmware upgrades. But at this moment, I can't promise anything. None of us know what's going to happen.
Yeah, but that is something that will most likely happen, because there has been really big, like Robin said, the one that happened about a year ago with the EM1 Mark II. It was huge upgrade. It was like a new camera, to be honest.
Exactly.
In many ways, and that's and I hope they will, and at least there is promise for the EM1X that probably will be released. I don't know, this year maybe in the later part or during the winter time, which hopefully happens then at the same time when they introduce the 150 to 400 millimeter finally. Finally it's available, and so I hope it's around that time too for that. But of course we cannot promise, we don't know for sure, but if most likely there will be. And let's see, and this was an interesting like Victor Skorpan is saying to all of us, Robin and Jimmy, that I would see with pleasure some YouTube episodes about just photography without any words of photo gears. And to be honest, I've planned those many times, but to be honest, the problem is that there aren't so many viewers for that. The demand
Yes,
isn't
that's
that
the
big, which I'm a
problem.
bit sad about. Unfortunately, people want to hear more about gear, and but
Exactly.
that has been on my list, and I will do those because that's something that I would love to do. But it's a hard compromise to balance between, you want to grow. I admit, of course, the channel, you want to grow
Yes,
and get
yes,
more
yes.
viewers. That's of course one thing, but of course you have to do content that people like, and that's always a balance to not to go too clickbaity in a way, but that's a good point. I know that should
I,
be.
I agree. I agree with Peter because once we stop talking about gear, you look at the chart, right? Like the views for the week just it just drops,
Yeah,
and
unfortunately that's the way it is.
that's the truth. And I have done quite a few videos. I don't think it's a few. It's quite a lot of videos where I'm not talking about cameras or lenses. So in those videos, I talk about how to improve composition or how to improve your photography without upgrading your gear.
Yeah.
I'm talking about, decisive moment, lighting. I'm talking about the art of seeing. I'm talking about storytelling your photographs. I also talk about why you're not improving your photography, and it has nothing to do with cameras, right? I talk about curation, how do you edit your photographs. I'm not talking about post-processing. I'm not talking about using Lightroom or Photoshop. I'm talking about looking at a photograph like it's a story. So you
Yes.
have like opening paragraph, you have the main body of work and conclusion. So that's how you edit your photographs to be like a full story. I talk a lot about these videos, but unfortunately they get buried,
It's
because they're
true.
not
Yes.
popular. People don't watch them. And when I talk about Olympus 45 f1.2, you can see the view just jump up.
Oh,
That's just the
that's what happens.
reality.
And but go out and check out those channels, and just scroll through the videos, and you can find some videos about only photography. I do have them. I do have about negative space, composition,
Yes,
and
yes,
some
yes.
travel photography. Of course, there's always the question of gear, but like the negative, the compass, what do you call, the negative space, for
Composition.
example, and
Yeah.
composition. That's got nothing to do with gear. It's all about making images, and it doesn't matter if it's a phone or a
Mm.
GoPro or a huge DSLR. You still have the same rules about the thing. So, but that's a good point. We should all. I'm not speaking for the others because I can't decide what they post on their channels, but that's a really good point, and we should really do that.
Hmm.
Let's see. And this is something ZYC is asking: have you guys considered doing a POV photo walk video? It does seem pretty popular now. Maybe you can learn how you think and shoot. And this is funny because yesterday I was helping Matti and Matti Sulanto, and Matti Sulanto was helping me filming our
Nice.
videos for Friday. And we were talking about this, that we should start doing videos about. I think Rob Trek has done some
Oh,
these
yes,
the
yes, yes,
photo
he does.
shoot, photo walk, I think it's called, and he has these videos where he kind of like talks out the way he thinks before he takes the
Hmm.
image, and that is something that we talked yesterday with Matti that we should do, and we might even do some together. We actually plan to do some kind of a battle, that who gets the better image, and then it's you viewers who can decide or something. We it's on. We'll see what happens. But
Well,
it's
the thing about POV videos, they're not new. In fact, a lot of photographers have been doing it since like about 5, 8 years ago. And I can see why it can be very engaging and it can be beneficial. I have tried to do not POV yet, but more like I set out a tripod at a corner and then I go and shoot whatever I shoot, and then I narrate over like how I see or how I made the shot. But I'm alone in Kuala Lumpur, and it's not exactly very safe on the streets. Crime rate is not very high, but still, crime happens. And there's a tripod with a camera there, and I'm holding a camera myself, and I'm carrying camera bags and everything. A lot of things can happen. So I constantly worry whenever I do that. It's not something that is very safe for us Malaysians to do. I have considered attaching a GoPro or an action cam on the camera so that you can see everything while how I compose or where I am and how I approach my subjects and stuff like that. I actually wanted to get an action cam, but I also realized that I need to find a way to make it look professional. I don't want just how action cams are. Everyone is just running around looking at random things. It's not that simple. It's not like just stick action cam and run around. It will look very bad. So I also need to maintain that certain quality in my video. I don't want it to look too random, too choppy, and too shaky. And I guess it is a very good suggestion. It is definitely one of the things that I want to do as well. I want to be able to show you guys my shuttle therapy. I want you guys to come with me to my shuttle therapy sessions and actually see how certain shots are being done and how I use certain Olympus features. That would be really great. Yeah, very, very good suggestion. And I think Peter and Matty are very good because you guys have each other. You can support.
It helps a lot. And I was just saying that it's a pity that we cannot travel to Kuala Lumpur. Excuse me. We cannot travel to Kuala Lumpur right now because it would be great to do those together. And help each other.
I'll draw your B-rolls. I'll show you guys in action.
yeah. We will do that. That will happen someday. Someday that will happen. And let's see. Okay, it's 9:30 p.m. in Malaysia right now, so it's not that late. Last time I did the 3-hour live with Robin, it was middle of the night in Malaysia, so this is a more convenient time. And when I look at the amount of people that's online now, it's about the same. So this could work some other time too.
I remember the first time we were live with Rob Track.
Oh,
By the time we finished the stream, there was sunrise in my window.
Yeah, I remember that. Yeah. It was. Let's see if there are any other questions.
Hi, David Kill is a Malaysian.
Oh, cool.
Just looking through different people, see if anyone I can recognize.
Yeah, by all means. And if you see any questions that there are some. There's one question about the OI Share app, and the current app sucks pretty much, to be honest, and why it is not possible to share and work on .orf data. Yeah, there are some limitations with that, but it's I don't know what you exactly mean by to share and work on ORF data.
Okay,
because you can edit photos on a mobile device, maybe not with OI Share, but you can actually, from certain Olympus cameras, you can transfer
Before we answer that question, I'm so sorry. I just realized that I didn't put my headphones on. So was there any echo or was the sound? I was actually using my speakers. This is the first time I did this. I'm so sorry. Is audio okay? Everyone all right?
I haven't really heard anything.
I think let me just put this. I am so sorry.
I haven't had any problems.
I didn't realize. Let me just put this on. All right, I'm on already. The microphone should still work. I just so I can hear. Can you say something?
I can hear you. I can hear you at least. I hope the audio is there.
I hope there's not too much echo. I'm so sorry if there is. Anyway,
I haven't heard any problems with the echo. No.
Okay, back to the OI Share. I think, well, that's the problem with you know how smartphones are, right? There's too many versions, and Androids keep evolving. It's just so hard for a company to keep track on, they have to make it compatible with iOS and Android, all the versions keeps changing, and even if the same version is different for every phone. I remember specifically there was a period of time where the OI Share doesn't work with certain Samsung phones, so it's just so difficult to get it consistent across the entire platform. I think that the OI Share itself is not a bad app. If your phone is fully compatible with it, if everything runs smoothly, there's not much that I wish that the app can be improved. The transfer, okay, full disclosure, I actually use the OI Share app in my professional photography. So when I shoot, even recently, just last week, I had a photography job. I was shooting portraits for a client, and there's the creative director with me. The talent is in front of me. So because I don't really fully understand what the creative director wants. Sometimes during the briefing, they tell you, this, the concept, everything. But when you shoot the kind of images, later at the end of the day, you show them photographs, and they're like, no, this is not what I want. So that is a problem. So what I did was I brought my tablet, an Android tablet, and I connected it with my EM10 Mark II. And in between the shoots, I'll quickly take some short break, and I bring the director to me, and I connect the camera to the tablet and show the tablet to the director and say, hey, these are the photographs that I've taken for the past 15 minutes or half an hour. Look at it. Is this what you want? Did I get the shots that fits what you're going to do with the talent? And on the spot, the director actually quickly gave me his feedback. He said, oh, yeah, this is the kind of shots I'm looking for. Not so much of this. This lighting is a bit too dark. I prefer it the model to look straight to the camera. I prefer to see more neck. Things that photographers sometimes may miss. It's like, oh, I don't like this shot because it makes the model look a little bit shorter. And for me, it looks perfect. But they have things that basically professional photographers, we are shooting for a client. So I have used the OI Share app a lot throughout the years, where I either transfer images directly or just show it on my tablet to my client for direct feedback, and zero issues, zero hiccup. I'm not saying the app is perfect. I'm not saying that you should have no problem. I know some phones, some devices have compatibility issues. It disconnects. There's the transfer is very slow. There's so much, like the app just stops responding. I know. But like myself, I'm lucky because my tablet or my phone works perfectly with Olympus cameras. It's amazing. It's actually godsend. I use it to help me earn money. So I can understand from both sides. Like Olympus, there's only so much they can do. They are not a software development company. They have to hire someone to do the programming, the coding, and everything. And it's just impossible to keep up with so many different versions of devices. So yeah, that's the way I see it.
Yeah, that's usually it used to be so that a few years back it was a bigger problem with the iOS, with the Apple devices, iPhones. But now I think that has been cured pretty well, because I use iPhone and there's no problem. But of course, the Android is a different world nowadays, because there are so many different versions of and every manufacturer put kind of like their own interface to it and stuff like that. And that is almost impossible to track and do. And there is a upgrade to that coming, which will have so-called night mode, which everything will be red, and that is really good, because then you can use it on your night shots. If you don't, as a remote shadow button, or what do you call it? Yeah, a remote shadow button. Yeah, and everything will be red. That's a really good improvement. A small thing again, but a big thing in practice. And then I said in the beginning that we're not going to talk about JIP or Olympus being sold, but this is an interesting thing that was on a 4/3 rumor site, that any comment on the possibility of the JIP only focusing on the Pro MFT gear. And that is possible, because that's something that they kind of hinted, that they are working on OMD and M.Zuiko brands. And that could even be that Olympus cameras are called OMD in the future. We don't know. That could be a case. I don't know. But that could be true, but I don't have any 100% sure for that. But it is possible. That's the only thing that I can say, but not really totally sure about that.
Wukong Ninja asks, did you test the autofocus with legacy 4/3 lenses on EM10 Mark IV? No, I did not. I don't see the point of testing 4/3 lenses on EM10 Mark IV, because EM10 Mark IV doesn't have phase detection autofocus. Now, if you have 4/3 lenses from the DSLR days, and if you want to use them on micro 4/3 bodies, there are only a few cameras that I highly recommend you to go for: EM1, EM1 Mark II, EM1 Mark III, EM1X, or the EM5 Mark III. Why? Because these cameras have face detection autofocus built onto the image sensor, which will allow the autofocus on the forward lenses to be fast. If you don't mind about the autofocus, you don't care about the slow hesitation of autofocus, if that's not a problem, if you're shooting still life, for example, or landscape, then of course the EM10 Mark IV, there's no issue. Of course, it works like any other micro four thirds cameras. But if autofocus is crucial, then get the cameras with face detection autofocus. It's as simple as that. All right, I hope that answers the question.
Yep, that was exactly the thing that I would have said. A bit shorter and not so detailed.
Oops,
but
sorry.
No problem. No, that's why I love because you're so thorough and precise with your.
Yeah. Sometimes I talk too much.
No,
when I edit my video, right, like from a, I don't know, 3-4 minutes take, I cut it down to 1 minute and I put it back in my video. Like, you don't see the things that I say. Like, so much more that I cut away. It's crazy.
You should sometimes try and see what the response is if you just let it go. Try that.
Or maybe I'll try one of these days.
Let's see what else there is. And then there is a photography by Sterkus is asking, "Hi guys, after testing the new 100 to 400 lens, would you recommend that lens, or would you prefer using a teleconverter with one of the older pro lenses like the 40 to 150 millimeter or 300?" What is your take on that question?
Okay, so the reason why Olympus releases this 100 to 400, this is a non-pro version. And bear in mind that there is another pro version coming, which is the 150 to 400. Olympus promised that it will come at the end of the year, right? This is for general use. And by default, it already has 100 to 400, which honestly, like for most photography, I don't think you even need 400. You have to ask yourself, if you need 400, get this lens. Just get this lens, right? But then again, like I've said earlier, if you missed it, for my kind of photography, I don't shoot at 300 or 400. So 40 to 150 f2.8 makes more sense. And it has f2.8, and it's a pro lens, so the image quality is definitely better. And I will get the teleconverter just in case I need the further reach. But that's my scenario, right? I can't speak for everyone. Everyone is different. We all come to photography with different purposes. We all do different things. I just don't use 300 to 400 all the time. But there are specific photographers who just go all the way to 400 when they get this lens. If you're that kind of photographer, I think having 400 right out from the lens is something that really, really can make a difference.
Yes, exactly. And I always say that if you let's say that you already have the 40 to 150 millimeter and the extender, then you might not need that lens unless you need that 400 millimeters. Then of course, if that doesn't give you enough reach. But other than that, but if you don't have it, then it's a matter of do you need the 40 to 100 range? How much? Do you have a lens for that? Then that's also something to consider. But it's always a really hard decision when you buying a new lens. There are so many different things that first, if I have the money for it, if I actually need it, but always remember that very rare you will be a better photographer by getting a new lens. Of course, sometimes you might get
truth.
Yeah, sometimes you might get images that you would not be able to get without a certain lens, but it doesn't make you a great bird photographer. Like I use the long lenses. I still cannot really shoot birds that well. I get a few lucky shots, but being consistent, no, I can't do it because I haven't had enough practice, and I don't know the birds, how they behave. That's the more important thing. But if you have all that covered, then by all means get it if you feel like you need it.
Sure.
And then there was Stanislav. Thank you very much for the money. allow ORF downloaded for all cameras supporting image share because Lightroom works on all mobile platforms, and that's true. I don't know. There was a comment about that it's all about a firmware issue, that it's kind of blocked, but I don't know. But that's always the thing that camera companies, they kind of need to differ, make a bit of a differentiation on different bodies. They can't put, everything, because then they just needed one body.
True.
So that's
true.
why they sometimes need to. But I think Olympus is not the worst on disabling things from different bodies, because there are a lot of things. Let's say, for example, the new one, you got live comp, you get bracketing features, you have multiple exposure, you have almost everything. There are, of course, certain things that are not there, and that might be because of the sensor and because of the processor. It's just not enough juice in the computer to do certain things, but they tend to have quite good amount of features also in the entry level cameras, which I think is a good thing. But let's see what. But I think I agree that it would be great that, because Lightroom is very versatile also on mobile and some other software too. Okay, this one, I love this one. Jeff Painter is suggesting, Robin, you should do stand-up comedy.
I don't know. I can tell a story, but just to do a comedy, like to make people laugh. I don't tell a story to make people laugh. I tell a story because I want to genuinely tell a story, and the purpose is to share the story, not to make people laugh. So I hope that somehow tells you the difference. If you want me to just make people laugh, I don't think I can do that. But yes, storytelling, I have a lot of stories to tell.
Yeah, I know you always have at least one or two when we have these lives. Then there is one question from Tanjim Bashar. If I want to use the OMD EM10 Mark III for video, can I use the USB port for digital mic input or Bluetooth? Unfortunately, no. That would be great. I think there is one camera company that has this kind of thing, that they don't have the mic jack, so they use the USB.
Fuji.
Yes.
ST4.
Yes.
ST4. Yeah.
But I think that would be actually not that bad idea if they did. That could kind of like go around with the not having a mic input. That's not a bad idea, actually.
Kamil Rakovsky said he saw a video of a Russian photographer testing 300 f4 versus Olympus 100-400 and Panasonic 100-400. The 300 with teleconverters beat them both. Of course, like what we've always said, there is a difference between a pro lens and a non-pro lens. Yep. The pro lens will always be superior. It's difficult to explain, because myself, Peter, we have been handling these lenses. We have been trying them so much. We can tell what the pro lens really is. So there's that different grade of quality.
Yeah, exactly. And also with pro lenses, usually the quality is also more consistent. There is not difference between two different two same lenses, but there might be, there might be a bit better kit lens on somebody than mine, for example. But those differences aren't that big, but the tolerances are a lot smaller with pro lenses.
Craig is asking, have either of you recorded a starry sky autofocus? Unfortunately, I will have to ask Peter to do that. Starry sky autofocus. Because in Malaysia, the sky is like cloudy 99% of the time. I don't see the stars. And I live in a city, and there's light pollution, there's clouds. It's impossible. So that will have to go to Peter. Peter, please do
actually, I've tested it. I have tested it when the camera was totally new and the whole thing was new, but I haven't done that after that. And I hope I have the ability to do that, because that is something that I have wanted to do. The problem here in Finland during summertime is that I should do it in the middle of the night, like 2 a.m., 3 a.m. when it's actually a bit dark, because it's light all day and all night. Now it's starting to get a bit darker, and since right now I do have the EM1 Mark III body to use, then I could do it in a couple of weeks, maybe when it starts to get darker a bit earlier. but that is something that has been on my mind, because it's an interesting feature, and the first time I tested it, it worked. It just worked. You know, it was the easiest star photography I've ever done, and you can do it handheld too. So it is really remarkable. And you would
True.
think that photographing stars and focusing the star is easy, but it actually it isn't.
No,
Kind of
it's
funny.
not.
It is. It's strange. You would just just put it to infinity, but no, they are closer than infinity. Actually, it won't be sharp. So it is. But that's something that I will work on in the coming weeks.
Looking forward to that.
Oh,
Stay tuned, guys.
yes.
Watch Peter's channel.
Okay, then there's an interesting question about the sensor size. What is different with the old 16 megapixel sensor versus the new 20 megapixel sensor? Of course, other than the increased amount of megapixels. And if I may start on this one, I made a comparison video between the EM10 Mark II and the new EM10 Mark IV. Of course, there is a different processor too. And what I found out in my almost lab test, that it was actually, when we talk about noise, there was almost a 2-stop better or less noise. So if you have a 400 image with the EM10 Mark II, you could actually use 1600 almost. It wasn't a scientific test. I've seen tests where they say it is only 1 stop, but that's about it. And then there was also a bit better dynamic range with the new camera. That wasn't that big, but you could see it. It was there. So it is a lot better image quality in my opinion, what I've experienced. Have you any comments on that?
Also, in Peter's test, he compared directly 16 to 20, and he already sees about almost 2 stops of difference, right, in terms of high ISO noise.
Yes.
You are comparing 16 and 20. So if you downsample the 20 megapixel to 16, and you compare them side by side, I mean, if you want to get more technical and scientific, right?
Yes.
If you equalize both files, then you will actually see maybe another half stop of improvement. From because you downsample the 20 to 16, you get even better result. So just to add to that, so the fact that Olympus managed to improve dynamic range, to improve high ISO performance, and yet at the same time increase resolution. We're talking about what, 20% increase, 25% increase of resolution from 16. That is actually, they're doing a good job. If you ask me, right? Yeah.
And let's see, we have almost 200 people online. Been a huge success. Thank you everyone for being here, and it's of course thank you Robin for being here, because those 199, it's 195 now, so there is 194 for because of you and the one person because of me. So
it was 200 just now. I saw.
200, oh, it was.
It reaches
okay.
200. It was.
All right. So now it's 200 again. It says on the. I got 2 numbers because I'm having the numbers on a different. Yeah, let's see.
Hoodie, I can't read these words because there's like Chinese or Japanese character. Hoodie something bar. Sorry about that. He asks, have you guys been to the M.Zuiko Museum in Olympus? I have not. Sorry, unfortunately. But I have been to, I don't remember the name, but it's something like an Olympus gallery or something like that. I have been there. It's in Hachioji. Yeah, so I have not been to that particular museum that you mentioned, but I have been to another gallery in Hachioji. So there you go.
Yeah, I've never been to Japan, so no, I haven't been there. But that's something that I would love to do. That would be so great, because that's probably not going anywhere. Even when Olympus is sold, I think they will have the museum. I hope it will, because I want to see that. And let's see. Let's see. Okay. And then there is Momchil Yordanov is challenging my two-stop difference. And yeah, as I said, it is my observation on that particular test. I did only one test, so that's got nothing to do with science. But that was my observation, and maybe I need to do it again and see if I made a mistake on that. But definitely it's better. And I think I say in the video that it is better. It doesn't matter if it's one stop, 1.5, or 2 stops. It is better anyways, something between there, because of course the test is not scientific and I did not measure anything, any signal to noise ratios or anything like that. It was only a, observation that I was looking at my computer screen. So, but it is better anyways. Let's see. What else do we have here? Yeah, this is Sue Binis is commenting about you have said many times that the pro lenses are way above the non-pro lenses. So is this the same true with the new 100 and 400 lens? And Robin has been talking about that a few times. And yes, pro lenses are better.
Yep.
They are just better. It doesn't say that or mean that the 100 to 400 millimeter is a bad lens. I think it's a very good lens. And if you haven't seen the videos about that lens in Olympus YouTubers channels, like Robin, I think Jimmy Red 35 did, and Robin did, and myself. So go check out those and see how it performs. It's a marvelous lens, even though it's not a pro lens. But I think Robin's video is like almost a pro lens or something like that, was it?
Yes, I feel that it's almost a pro lens. It's almost a pro lens.
It is.
And if you guys haven't checked, Peter and Matty, they actually compared the 200 and 400 Olympus versus Panasonic.
Oh yeah,
so check it out as well.
And
right?
we have actually on
two videos.
And on Matti's channel, we kind of swapped the lenses. So I had the Panasonic lens on my Olympus body, and Matti had the Olympus lens on his G9, Panasonic G9. And we compared those and how they perform and how the features different. And there wasn't really much of a difference on those. It doesn't matter, but usually it is better. If you have an Olympus body, I would first look for M.Zuiko lenses, and then if you can't find suitable lens, if Olympus doesn't have the lens you need, then look elsewhere. But because usually the different features like focus stacking, maybe high res and pro capture, there might be some things that don't work on a different brand lens. And let's see. And then there is a lens recommendation. Let's see. Vincent Maestre is asking, I've got EM1 Mark III plus 12 to 40 Pro lens. What would you recommend as my next lens? 7 to 14 millimeter Pro or 40 to 150? I like to picture people, family, friends, and travel. That's a tough one. Are you planning on taking the lens with you, because the 7 to 14 millimeter lens is quite huge? Actually, it has a really huge front element. It's almost like an eyeball. It's eyeballing you. The whole it's kind of big lens, and I think that's a bit of a special lens for more like landscapes and stuff like that. And then if you look at, you have the 12 to 40, and then you would have 40 to 50. I would say that you all covered. It depends on, of course, a bit depends on your subject, but I would lean on towards the longer lens. But that's my take. I would, because I've never taken the 7 to 14 to my travels. It's kind of I don't know. It's a bit big for me, anyways.
I feel that we are all different photographers, and like Peter's shooting style is different from my shooting style. I personally I prefer to work with prime lenses, because prime lenses are really, really small. And I like that there's f1.8 or f1.2 aperture, which gives me a lot more room to work with if I'm shooting in low light conditions, versus zoom where you have f2.8 or f4. But that's just me. Some people, they really want the versatility of the zoom. So when it comes to preference like this, whether you want to go wide or go long, then it really comes down to what you prefer to do. Do you like to shoot very close up, or if you want to zoom things that is very far away, or do you prefer to capture, fit as much as possible within a frame? Then if you can answer those questions, then probably you already know your answer. But if you don't know what you want, then I suggest that you continue using the 12 to 40 for a longer period of time. Then ask yourself, when you look at your photographs, do you wish your photographs to be wider? Or do you wish your photographs to be longer? If you wish your photograph to be longer all the time, like 40 is too short, like, you know, the animal is too far away, the mountain is too far away, the building is too far away, then 40 to 150 is your answer. Or if you're always in a tight situation, in a tight room, or in a place where, I just need more than 12, 12 is not enough, then 714 is your answer. Yeah. Ideally, of course, you want all lenses. If I have all the money in the world, I'll buy everything from Olympus and just use whatever I want. But that's not the case, right? Our money is not unlimited. We have to be careful of how we spend our money. So you have to ask yourself what you need, because the last thing that you want to do is you buy a lens and you don't use it. That's the worst thing that can happen.
That's the worst thing. And then there's an interesting question about which we do not get that much, but this is really interesting that Spog McArdle. My grandson has an interest in photography. Would an older EM5 or 10 be better, or a TG6, mainly due to cost? That is an interesting thing. I would say that if you are afraid that the camera will, be tossed and banged on anything, then TG6 for certain. That's
how old is the grandson?
Yeah, it depends on that. Otherwise, if it's, let's say, they're a bit older and not just a small kid, then I would look for a used EM5, maybe Mark II or EM10 Mark II.
If he's 12 years old or 15 years old, I think EM5 or EM10 would be great.
Yeah. But if it's a really small kid like 5 or 6, then I would, then TG6 would be perfect, because
definitely
he or she or he cannot break it.
Or maybe even a TG3.
Maybe that too, because it's on when you're just learning, it's all about having fun, for kids. If it's a small kid and taking images, the process of taking the image and looking at it on your camera and feeling that I took this is the biggest thing at first, of course. And then if that kind of like develops and the interest is really, and you can see that he has an eye for it, then of course it starts to get a different thing. But I think it's all about having fun.
The grandson is 15 years old. 15.
Oh, 15. Then I would go with the
EM5 or EM10.
EM5 or 10. Yeah,
definitely.
Yeah, then I would look for that. And you can get really good deals on, let's say, like the EM10 Mark II or the EM5 Mark II used, and really capable camera. Let's see. It's been. You still have some time, Robin. I was talking about maximum of 2 hours, but we have almost 200 people here still, and I got 36 minutes on my battery. So
for our beautiful audience, of course.
Yeah.
We always have time.
Thank you. You always have time for but I do have 36 minutes on my battery, even though I do have some.
Let me see. I have 35.
Oh, okay.
About the same.
Yeah. Let's aim for half an hour.
Sure.
Then we'll all set, because there are a lot of questions.
Hey, Red 35 is having his stream. Some people are going over. Come back.
Is he having his stream right now?
Don't run over. Come back.
That's great. Well, that's probably good stuff too. So, no, I'm not offended on that.
Sure.
Because if it would have been a different brand of camera, then I would be very, very disappointed. But he's probably talking about Olympus, and Jimmy is a great guy.
Yes.
Yeah, and it was funny. I actually met Jimmy in February when I was in London, and he was in my video.
The video.
Yeah, he was in my video, and that was so much fun too. We had almost all day. We talked and filmed that small part on my video for that. He's a really nice guy. Let's see.
Rahul is asking, I'm planning to use my EM5 Mark II for a lot of Skype. Would you recommend a dummy battery that I can use? I know I can buy the grip as standard, but it is a bit expensive here. I have no experience with dummy batteries or any other external attachments to cameras. So I am very sorry. I've only used original batteries. I don't
Yeah,
know
and
what
I
you
think
can.
dummy battery means that he can plug it into a wall socket, so he can use it
Oh,
from you know, what do you call it? You have this. This is something that I don't know the word. I think
oh,
so. The kind of like an adapter for electricity. I think that, yeah, and if you can find one, then I think that is a good solution. But I think Robin was talking about third-party batteries, which I would not use.
okay.
Yeah, I think that. But is there any AC adapter for EM5 Mark II? Do you remember? I
I don't.
I have to
I
say that, but
don't.
you have to, maybe you have to Google and check out if there are, or go to the Australia Olympus pages and see if they still have it
Yeah, ask these
there.
guys. Go to
Yeah,
the Facebook and say, hey, is there an SE adapter for EM5
that's
Mark
true.
II?
Or
Yeah.
OMD group or something like that. That could also work. But yeah, it is a solution if you can find one.
Hmm.
Um, let's see. And yeah, Trevor Eger is asking about is the EM5 Mark II okay for HD video? Thinking of using it for a wedding. Yeah, it is actually good for full HD video. It doesn't have 4K, but very good full HD camera. And it was, I remember when the EM5 Mark II was launched, they had a launch event in Prague here in Europe, and I was there for a couple of days, and it was mind blowing to see the IBIS with video, because you didn't, until that time you all need these huge rigs, but then you could just handheld, and it's, of course, it's gotten better after that, but it was a huge improvement in handheld video, that camera. So yes, it is
So I had another story
great.
for EM5 Mark II because during that time I was working for Olympus,
Oh,
so I
that's
was a
true. That's
sub.
true.
So that time because I'm in the marketing team, so we handled the product launch for the EM5 Mark II. So we hired 3 local cinematographers, videographers we commissioned them to make short videos. So the video is about 5 to 10 minutes long, and once the video is shot with EM5 Mark II handheld, of course, and once it is done, we actually showed it. We booked the entire cinema,
Oh
right, a
wow,
real cinema, and
cool.
we invited the press, the media, all the people, the photographers to come in for the launch event, and we actually previewed these videos on the cinema screen. Yeah, and everyone was blown away because you can't tell it was taken with a small camera. It just
Yeah,
looks like a professional camera,
yeah.
right? So
Actually,
yes,
well,
for videos, yes, it's
yeah, it
very
is. And
very good.
actually, there's a also I have a story about that meeting in Prague. That was what happened. We were divided into groups, and every group made a short
Hmm.
film, and that was shown on a big screen,
Nice.
and that was really cool. They had a Finnish film crew called Kauas Creative who was running the whole thing, and it was interesting. I was, making a short film with them, and handheld and all these nice tricks, and it was really nice. So yes, it is a very good camera. It doesn't have 4K, but if full HD, like you have in your answer in your question, that's totally fine.
And David Kill from Malaysia is asking why EM1 Mark III only has ND filter or the live ND up to ND32. There are a few things you have to understand about the live ND. It is not an ND filter. It is more like a composite or a creative computational photography to reduce the exposure time in the image and sort of like blend the image together to simulate an ND filter effect. So it's not a true filter. Now you have to understand that.
Yeah,
And because this process of computational photography, taking a lot of photographs in real time and process them together there's just so much processing power that's involved. You will need a lot more powerful processor to handle much more ND filter power if you want to go beyond ND32. So I hope that answers your question. So currently the limit is ND32. Maybe in the future Olympus will have less limitation. It can go higher. But this is what they can do, the best they can do with what they have. And I there's no other manufacturers that have this.
Exactly.
Only Olympus has Live ND. So
Exactly, and I've tested it a few times, or actually more than a few times, but it actually is exactly when you use the ND32 on a physical ND filter, it's exactly the images look identical. Even though it doesn't matter if you use a live ND or a real ND filter, it looks exactly the same. So it's really well done, I think, in that sense too. You can't really tell which one was used. And let's see. And then there was Romain is asking about the Laowa lens, and earlier we talked about that, and I said that yeah, that's an interesting lens, and I will contact the dealers here in Finland and see if I can get one for testing. That'd be really interesting to see what kind of lens that is.
We don't have a representation of Laowa here. I don't know how to find them, and I don't even know where to buy it here. If I need to get that lens, I'll probably have to buy from overseas retailer. So probably I'll skip that.
Yeah. Okay, then there's an interesting question from Rahul Dar again. What filters do you recommend one should always carry, like ND filters, polarizing filters, etc.? Do you use any filters, Robin?
I only use ND filters after I started doing YouTube. Because we need that cinematic motion, the 1/50th, and I feel outdoor under the sun, so I need like ND filter, and I use f1.8 so I can get like my bokeh, right? Yeah. So that's the only time I use ND filter. But other than that, I don't use filters. With one exception, which I rarely use, I do have a close-up filter, a macro Raynox 2.5, not 2.5, I don't even know how many times. It's Raynox 250 macro filter. It works really well. I attach it to my 45 or 75 lens. Whenever I don't want to bring a macro lens, because the filter is so small, right? So I'll use the filter. I know that I'm not going to do like serious macro, because like I do wedding photography, and I just need the macro lens for the ring shot. And just because of that, I want to bring the macro lens just use it for one time. Because sometimes like certain couples, they have the rings and they engrave the name and the date of the marriage inside the ring. So when you can capture that, the clients love you. That's why I need the macro lens. But I don't want to bring the macro lens just for that one shot. So I brought like the tiny filter just for that. Sharpness is not important. As long as you can read the name is good enough. I'm not shooting insects. So that's the only filter that I use. And now I use ND filters every time when I film a YouTube video, just so that people complain like when I wave my hand, it goes like very stuttery. Well, yeah, I'm learning. Now it's smooth, so it's not stuttery anymore.
Yeah, filters are not that important anymore, but of course polarizing can be a good if you have a lot of reflections that you want to get rid of. For example, shiny cars or windows or water, and you want to kind of like make the colors a bit richer. Then polarizing is something that could be used. And ND filters for long exposure in bright daylight could be used. And of course in video you need them to get the shutter speed slow enough for the movement to be realistic looking in video. And then there is one set of filters that is also interesting, are the infrared filters. That's something, if you can get hold of and test what infrared photography looks like, and especially if you have a lot of these green leaves and stuff, they look really ghosty and exciting with infrared filters. And I have one of those which I've used sometimes just for fun, but other than that, not really that much, because I have a whole set of filters from the film days with all different colors, and because of the white balance could not be changed from the camera, it was what it was, and you have different lights and you need all kinds of filters, and it was a big hassle, and that's kind of like made the filters obsolete in a way, except a few exceptions for some special stuff. All right, let's see, do we have anything else?
I'm very sorry, I can't pronounce this name because it is not in English. But the question is, my EM10 Mark II doesn't have a full photo view mode when I just want to view a photograph. When viewing, the stabilizer works and the battery is spent. That is a drawback. I don't fully understand your question because if you review your photograph, the stabilizer shouldn't be working. That's my understanding.
Yeah,
And it shouldn't be, because once you get out from the review, you can actually feel certain cameras like EM1 Mark III or EM5 Mark III can feel the stabilizer kicking in. You can feel the kick, just a little bit, right? So, okay, the thought that the stabilizer is actually working while you review a photograph, that's not true. If you say there's no full photo view, what happens when you press the review button? There is a playback button, which is the triangle button. So if you press that, it should have a review. I'm just curious what happens when you press that.
Yeah, right? And then there's actually, Romain has one good point about filters. It's called Nisi Natural Night ND filter. And I think he's referring to the ones that cut down the light pollution, if I'm correct.
Nice.
And I haven't really tested those, but it's supposed to cut down the light pollution that comes from, reflects or kind of like shows in the horizon. If you have a big city, or you might not even see the city, you still might have some light pollution. It's because here in Finland and in Helsinki, if I go, when I remember when I was taking the images with the Starry AF, I went to the most southern part that I could find that there was no light pollution. There is one place that actually is pretty good, but the problem is that you can see the lights from Tallinn, which is 80 kilometers south from Helsinki, across the bay. You can see them glow, the whole city. So that is a bit of a problem. But yeah, that was a good point. Good point, Romain, about the Nisi filters. I have not tested them myself, but I know that they work. They're quite expensive, but if you really need them and do a lot of night photography, then it cuts down your image editing time quite a bit. Oh, this one is Ananda Sim is saying, remember the cocky rainbow filters, Peter, to match the bell-bottom pants and disco lights. Unfortunately, I remember those, and I have to admit that actually I've used one. Those have. I don't think I have one, but I still have in the cabinets behind. I have a lot of different cocky filters, and that is also a video thing that I do have a lot of old stuff that I've sometimes used, and then unfortunately I also do have some stuff that I bought but never used, and I probably make a video about the funny stuff that I still have or something, and those cock-in filters could be one. Yes, those cock-in filters were really interesting, to be honest. Really
Ananda, do you still have those filters? Bring it to Malaysia the next time you visit. I want to see them. Ananda is a friend, but he's based in Australia now.
He's commenting that he still used them for fun. So
yeah, bring it home, man. Bring it to Malaysia. I want to try them.
That's a good one. Yeah, and then then there was Jeff Painter says about f-stops or t-stops. And I'm not sure if this is some previous comment or that,
probably.
but there is a difference between f and t-stop. F-stop is actually the amount of light that gets in, and it's kind of measured from the front element, but t-stop is the actual light that hits the sensor, and cinema lenses are t-stops because they must be constant. If a cinema lens is T4, for example, and another one is T4, is exactly the same, but let's say an f2.8 lens and an f2.8 lens might be actually different T values. So the amount of light that gets lost inside the lens might be a bit different. So the T values for lenses are different than the F values. I hope that.
Also, I think the formula for the f-stop is something to do with, okay, I could be wrong, something to do with the focal length and the opening of the aperture. You get the F number.
Yeah,
so it measures there's a formula for that. But T, like what Peter mentioned, is the exact light that hits the sensor. So that's the difference.
That's the difference. And usually the faster the lens, the bigger the front element of the lens is. Usually that's the way it usually is, because it has something to do with so like a 100 millimeter f1 point lens should have a 10 millimeter, or I mean 10 centimeter front element, just like roughly. So it would be quite big, actually. Let's see. Let's see, how much time do we have? We still have about 15 minutes. How much do I have? Yeah, there's still some juice in my battery, so
yeah, still have.
we're all set. We're all set. We all set.
Stanislav Lenskov said a photo editing software kills all filters, especially circular polarizer. Only for the graduating part, like if you want to tone down the brightness of the sky. But like what Peter said earlier, polarizers are used for a few other reasons. You can get rid of the reflection, or if you want to add the reflection in your photograph, and that polarizing effect cannot be edited easily in post-processing. Yep. And especially like one good example is a pond, right, with fish. And without polarizing filter, you see the reflection and the fish is beneath the reflection. It's very distracting. With a polarizing filter, you can make the reflection disappear and the clear water just looking at the fish. So that's something that you can't edit easily. Yep.
Well, you could, but is that photography anymore if you could kind of like put the fish in the water? That would be something different. Let's see. What else? There aren't tons or not tons of questions, so we could maybe we could start wrapping up this this session. We've been here almost 2.5 hours.
Yeah.
And but all in all, I think this was a really good discussion, and I hope you people got answers to your questions and some things we've talked about, the 100 and 400 millimeter lens, and go out and check out videos about it. There's Robin has made, I did a video, Red 35 did a video at least, and then I think there are some others that I don't really know who do more of photography, but search YouTube for that. And same thing with the new camera that was launched at the same time. So if you're interested in those, go and check, and don't forget to subscribe to Robin's channel, and if you haven't subscribed to mine, please do. And I want to thank you, Robin. This was again really interesting talk with you, and we will probably see you.
Thanks for having me. Very happy to be
here. Of course. Always
happy to see everyone.
Always fun to have you, because you got those great stories and you know a lot about Olympus, so people get something out of these things. But I have to say that thanks for watching, and bye for now.
Bye-bye.